Welcome to the morning here. I'm going to fix my hat here. No one's here anyway, so what does it matter? Oh, yeah. All the way. See, got the hawk going here. We're doing it. Get the cap on. This is like almost my, is it a medieval style cap? I don't know. Maybe. See if I did any. Yeah. Check volume. Test. We're at 44. Going down to 20. Baby. Sounds a lot better. Definitely. So, it is easier for me once I get going to pull these headphones off because they're heavy. You know, I do that so I can hear myself. Right? It's a rough world, you know. Sometimes you just gotta make your own. It's a rough world, you know. It's a rough world. Sometimes you just gotta make your own. So I already have a world. So where's that, they said? Where's your world? I live in Elfland. Easy on the wave, baby, come on. woodland, oh beyond the bee, oh beyond the bee, oh beyond the bee. Said, don't look him in the eye, burn you down with evil in there. I warned you, oh, sad look in your eye. Don't look in there. Shoot a rock straight through the eye. Call him a sure shot every time, every time. Gotta earn your name. That's why they call Louis the Long Arm said, sword on fire, straight and true. Easy on the wave, it doesn't always go the way you wanted it to. But easy on. I figure I just fade into a mist and disappear, never to be seen again. That's what I say. Just then I saw the blind bot appear on the trail again. Grandfather in disguise, grandfather in disguise, so grandmother in the woodland I-O. Come to circle round, cauldron in the woodland, send the steam boiling up from the bottom of the pot. Said, easy on the way as we go. Resonated folk soul, oh yeah. Memory circle round. Long ago, saw you in the center, destiny. shine, shine, shine on, shine on. Oh, froggy ass I'm all they ever wanted was a folk soul to sing in the woodland. Where do you think I've been living all these years? All these years, all these years. Oh, mountainside. Alright. Put my headphones back on. Here. Alright. Ooh. Well, let's say reduction of recording volume may help. Crystal Cave. I think I am a perfect example of low budget, and I do mean lowest budget. No, not quite, but you know what I mean. Comparatively. What do? I play music and read, okay? Say what I think about reality, whatever. You're like, is this about manipulation? No. Haven't you noticed? Holding my coffee. So I broke I don't know, couple coffee pots, and I'm like, okay, I put the hockey jersey on, whatever. And so I'm like, this shit will not break. It will dent, but not break and shatter, where El Cheapo glass will. And it will cut you, which is not fun, But comparatively, it is warm, even though, for most people out here, it would be cold. And I realized something when I was from being outside as much as I am. Hold on, pull this back. Quality of air from inside to outside. I'm like sensitized to seeing particulates in the air, and I'm nearsighted, but I can see it. You're like, God damn it, it's just kind of stale. And no matter what, you go look in your vents, you're going to see thick shit, because we cleaned ours out, my house, and it can get nasty. So if you say have issues, you want to make sure those ducts are clean. I understand security, whatever, you're worried about that. Okay, you can do it yourself. What they do is they get this little brush, okay, and they hook it on like a little drill or something, whatever. They cut a service hole, okay, go in there, and they're like, to get all the shit out. And then they will vacuum all that out with the shop vac, big ass one like this. Now, if you're using a wet vac, that'll take all that dust and suck it in there. You can use a machine, right, to clean the air. But the issue is if your ducting is not clean of dust, hair, all that shit, it's just recirculating that in your house. And I was like, okay. So we did that when we changed the heater, because quality of air. But like I said, being outside, you notice air quality immediately, storms immediately, changes in the wind. So you're like, okay, I saw this before, so I know a storm is coming. I've literally sat outside that much where it's like, okay, yep, certain wind comes and you know what it means. Like reading a book. So I thought, I guess my practical experience in life isn't worth much. They're like, we need your certificate showing you are a PhD in something, or you are worthless. Feels that way sometimes, Not true, but it feels that way. So you will know, or I will know, the most about what I experience every day. Like you look up and you see a certain group of birds gather at a certain tree, and they'll kind of graze for a while, right? Then the whole group of birds will be like, all right, it's time to go. But among those birds, in my opinion, one just landed nearby just as I was talking, looking at me. Because we have quail, robins, little blackbirds, just different ones. And sometimes I'll hear them sing individually, and then one will answer, right? Or a whole group, but it's always an organized symphony. You know what I mean? And then I would practice like whistling and hear the birds respond to my whistle, because they will. If you do it long enough and it's in their frequency, they respond. It's cool. I know, but that to me is folkish to the core. Because if you're up in the mountains, just consider it, or by the river, whatever, there's no internet or TV. So what's your pastime? I probably would be making instruments, right? Some way to entertain yourself, but that would become more. Initially, it's communication, right? All right. Oh, like I make an effort every time, right? to tune, but sometimes it's not perfect. Whatever. Eventually, you know, you gotta just go. But I think it sounds better, right? But these are new strings, and they're going to continue to stretch. So it's just what it is. Got to continue tuning, and also super sensitive, so it picks up anything that is not in tune. Yeah, you know. Anyway, Balor of the Evil Eye. Again, Lou saw a hulking black form come toward him out of a white glow. Saw it raise a massive arm threateningly. But that was an image from his dream. And this was real, another part of a childhood's nighttime terror had come to life. It seemed to be a giant seated on a heavy metal throne. Its shape was a parody of a man's, with 2 arms, 2 legs, hands, feet, a head, but all in massive proportion. Each leg was thicker than a man, and the head was like a huge, squat cauldron. Have to lay into that. Set directly upon the great width of his squared shoulders. Each hand looked fully capable of squeezing a man in 2. The body seemed fully enclosed by some kind of armor with the same black hue as the hulls of the metal ships. Even the great head was covered by a helmet. Thus, the being had no visible features save one. And that one was the most terrible aspect of its appearance. For in the center of what ought to have been the face, there was only a single eye. The metal lid that covered it was down, nearly closing the eye, but through the narrow slit, Lou could see a ruby-colored light that had to be the incredible intensity. By all that's living, what's that? Gila whispered in a choked voice. I don't know, Lou answered, honestly. Listen, there are too many problems with De Danon's, Bress was arguing. They still show sparks of rebellion, despite the harsh way we've trampled down their fire. I want you to help me make an end of them now. The reply came from the terrible form in a rattling, echoing voice that held no trace of human tones. I fear you seek a final solution to your own problem, but you will have none from us. You will have to continue to bleed them as you are. If they are weakened to the point the Famar garrisons in Ire can destroy them, you may do so. But I wonder at this, but I wonder at this drive to see them exterminated, considering that it is their blood which half fills your veins. It is that very blood which causes my hatred of them. Ooh. The High King explained. I mean to prove myself holy for more. Any aspect of that other half must be wiped totally away. Other half, to the listening Lou, this revelation was both startling and very illuminating. Press was only partly of the De Danons and a traitor to that part. Pardon me. I commend your loyalty, if it is genuine, the black figure said. It shifted slightly. The movement was incredibly slow, the upper body tilting stiffly to bring the head forward. Right? Oh my God. Here we go. Yep, knock shit over. That's Robert's specialty. The red eye rested upon the officer. The voice continued in words as hard as the clang of iron on iron. But understand me well. All the scientific skills of our civilization at its highest level of achievement created this tower. It is the last bastion of our race. I will not risk those living here without good cause. It is up to you to maintain control in ire. Without any help from us. Do so. These words were clearly meant as a dismissal, but the stubborn High King had more to say. He stepped boldly forward. There is another matter, Commander, about a boy. The hard voice responded at once, demanding, Boy? What boy? There was an almost human note of curiosity in it this time. It is some notion King Bress has, Strang put in. He sounded apologetic at having to disturb the being with something so trivial. It's hardly worth even bringing it up. The eyes shifted just a fraction. The light was suddenly a glowing beam playing across the High King. Oh, shit. Just tell me about this boy, came the command. Ooh. He is a wanderer named Lou who appeared mysteriously at Tara. Bress quickly explained. His face suddenly shining with sweat. With sweat. With sweet. With sweet sweat. I'm just kidding. He proved himself a master of skills and won a place there. Now he seems to be in league with the Dogden, his sons, and he created a riot at the inn where I met Strang. I think the lad is dangerous. He's another reason I wish to act. He may be part of some conspiracy to, a master of skills, The metallic voice broke in sharply. What kind of skills? A great many, Bress assured him with increasing urgency, as the heat grew more uncomfortable. He was a swordsman, a game player, a master of the harp. The harp. This crash of sound cut the man off again. From its side, the figure lifted a hand, palm up, fingers outstretched. The fingers curled back into a massive fist. That boy must be captured now. The ringing words vibrated the room with their volume. The fist shook. The hot light bathed the now soaking king. Go back at once. Find that boy without delay. You understand? Without delay. Find him and bring him to me. I will, Commander. Bress promised in a voice pitched high with agony. But why? It's not for you to know. The hard reply came. Now go. Understand the circumstances. Bress had no inclination to argue in this. He turned and strode away, trying to keep himself from running to the doors. The figure of the commander came slowly erect again. The eye narrowed and turned towards Strang, who had been waiting patiently nearby. Drink, hail, hail our folk. Hail. Okay. See that the High King Bress returns to Ire at once, the voice ordered, and have the woman sent to me. I want to see what she thinks of this news. Ooh. Yes, Commander, the man replied, turned to follow Bress from the room. But as he departed, he was immediately replaced by another uniformed officer. I have a plane overhead, I like to say so you know. This one, Lou recognized as the young captain they had seen below. He approached the motionless giant slowly. His expression was not a happy one. Commander, he began in a nervous voice, I don't mean to disturb you, but I felt this could not wait any longer. Well, asked the iron voice. Well, there are some strangers in the tower. Ooh, he said in a sudden rush, as if to get it over. Parties are searching for them now. There are only 3, possibly Danans. A man, a girl, and a boy. A boy? The voice cracked with the power of lightning. That fool Bress, they followed him here from Ire. With relative speed, the head came forward, swiveling on the thick neck, throwing the crimson beam round the room. The 3 watching from the balcony ducked below the rail as it swept above them. He is here, the commander rumbled. He saw Bress meet with Strang. He followed them here. I know it must be. I can feel it. The metallic voice was marked now by a very clear human note of triumph. Figures he's got him. If he's in the tower, he can't get out. The eye swung back to the waiting officer. He mustn't leave the tower. Have everyone alerted. Search every level and send Bress back here. Yes, Commander. The captain said briskly, happy to have escaped the commander's wrath. On his departure, the figure again sat back. This time, the lid on the terrible eye dropped, fully closed, cutting off the line of ruby light. So it's like a laser cannon, basically, you know. Imagine your energy was that powerful. Hey, who's to say, right? I personally feel that is possible. The trio above waited for several long moments, but there was no further sound or movement from the figure. So, if the sun is possible, that's possible. Just saying. In my mind. Ha ha ha. The bloody great things gone to sleep, Gila whispered. Time to be going, Lou agreed. They moved off of the balcony back down to the outer room. It was empty. The captain had already gone. Once he raises the alarm below, warriors will be swarming over this whole tower, Gila said. Time to get out, baby, right? It would seem a good moment to make our departure, so it would. Lou hesitated. But there are so many questions, so many things I don't understand, he told them. And the woman, who is she? You have no time to find out now, Ain said urgently. We've got to get away before we're trapped. May already be too late. As desperately as Lou needed to learn more, he also knew the risk had become too great. He nodded. All right, we'll go. Let's make our way back to that lifting room. Maybe we can go down the way we came up. That captain may have already taken it down, said Gila. Then we'll have to hide and wait until it comes back. There doesn't seem to be much other choice. They made their way back to the central gallery. Their good fortune seemed to be holding. The gallery was still empty. They started at a run for the column with the lifting room, Lou suppressing his fear for the height by sheer willpower. That's courage, right? But they were only halfway across the gallery to it when a party of soldiers rounded it from the other way. Both groups stopped in surprise. There were 4 gray-clad men, and they surrounded a woman in a soiled and ragged gown. Lou knew her at once. It was Talta. In his joy, he started toward her, crying her name. She recognized him then, and her face lit with her elation. Lou, she called back, trying to push forward past the guards, but they pulled her roughly behind them, while one warned darkly, Get back! Now, whoever you are, you let her go! Lou shouted and charged forward, all sense of logic gone. Battle rage. In his explosion of anger, the guards, though startled by the attack, were well trained and hesitated only an instant before seizing their sword hilts to draw. 4 blades would have met the lad's attack if the quick-thinking Talta hadn't leaped forward. Now remember, Talta is the one that trained him. She's a battle maiden, essentially, druidess. All right. Throwing herself sideways to crash across the backs of the guards' legs. All of them staggered, and 2 of them went down over her heavily as Lou slammed into them from the front. So they hit him from both sides. It's like a pincer move, right? Lou's attack had also taken his friends by surprise, but now they moved in to aid him. Gila, the only one of the trio, adequately armed, okay, it's a big, tall, skinny guy, drew his sword, or the clown, and ran to engage the 2 soldiers still on their feet. Ain sprang onto the figures struggling on the floor. Gila's opponents were skilled and aggressive in their sword play. Their weapons were of silver gray metal, much thinner and lighter to wield than his, yet as strong. For all his own prowess with the blade, he looked as if he could barely keep both attackers away. They forced him to retreat until his back was to the inner wall, and then they came in from either side. The clown drew his dagger and fought with both hands, lunging constantly from side to side to parry their slashes and thrusts. Okay, we get a drink. I like this. It's almost like a old school Batman episode or something. Hold on. I'm going to do it like that. Meantime, Lou had become locked in a battle of strength with one of the other soldiers. He was vastly overmatched in it. No, I'm just kidding. God. Okay. Reclaim the center right now. His opponent was burly and much larger. Lou had secured a desperate grip on the man's sword. His sword hand, with both, the light shifted. His own in an effort to wrest the weapon away. W-R-E-S-T. Yeah. Now they rolled across the floor, the soldier battering at Lou with his free hand, each trying to kick the other with their feet. Ain had joined Talta in an attack on the fourth soldier. Yeah, ladies, work together. Work together. Trolls back. Oh my God. Okay, they drove him down onto his back, and the older woman fell across his sword arm, pinning it. Good job. Ain then sprang forward, landing with both knees on his groin. It's awesome. Oh my God. Rah! Bam! Oh my God. It's done. That will be of no further use, BobCat says. That will not be working again after that shit. Wow, God damn it. Okay. She had hoped losing my shit. That was awesome. She had hoped to incapacitate or better kill him. Oh my God. She hadn't reckoned with his toughness. The pain only galvanized him to a superhuman effort. He rose, throwing both women off, bellowing for good reason like a bull castrated by a hot iron. Oh, God damn, that's rough. But as his weapon came up, Talta threw herself upon him again. They're not done, I guess. The sword flicked toward her as she came in, the slender blade driving up into her side below the ribs. I knew it, damn it, no. She grunted sharply with pain, but didn't pause, pushing the weapon out and away from the man's body, leaving him unguarded. Ain was quick to take advantage of the opening. Whipping her sword out, she thrust it forward, backed by her body's full power. See, that's how you do it. From the hip, baby. It struck home, cracking through the man's, let's see, the next page, breastbone. Wow. Burying itself to the hilt in his chest. That's pretty descriptive. Yeah. Done. It's like the end when they get the whatever in the rodeo, kind of like that. Instantly dead. Wow. So you can see Ain is not playing games. Okay, now he collapsed backward, his blade pulling free of Talta. Now, if it just hit her in the side, she may survive, right? Lou and his soldiers still locked together and now struggled to their feet and were against the outer rail of the gallery. They were bent sideways over the top of the hill, their upper bodies hanging far out, swaying over the sheer drop. Lou was trying his best not to look down as he tried to maintain his grip on the man's sword hand. Still, he was feeling a certain dizziness. It was not lessened by the fact that his opponent was slamming punches into his stomach with his free hand. Lou was jerked, farther up and out by each one. He felt himself weakening. It's like a UFC fight. Okay, a really brutal, like street UFC fight. Serious. No rules, no holds barred, basically. The eyes so close to his own were pitiless. They saw that he was failing. The tight lips lifted in a grim smile of victory. The fist delivered another jolting blow to Lou's lower ribs. Lou felt blackness washing up through him. He's about to pass out. That's why. I've had that happen to me in a fight before, so I know. Rolling through his brain like a wave that would drown him. He cursed his weakness, and he thought of the battle with Morrigan. Here it was, happening again. Only this time, no silver hand to save him. Then he heard the cry of pain from Talta. He glanced aside to see her stepping back from the sword point, to see the rush of crimson from the wound. See, that's what I was worried about, is bleed out, right? I'd already considered that. That was enough. He went mad with, he saw blood. I got to blow my nose. And that's what happens. Okay, see, like, Boudica, she had battle rage, right? After what happened to her daughters. No shit. Serious. And you would too. I lose my place. I'm written up. Okay. So, okay. He went mad with a white, hot rush of new anger. I told you. Someone that he loves is threatened. If you don't love someone, you will never fight as hard. Right? Never. That is a key principle. Right? So if they say emotions are weak, no, they're not. Emotions are powerful. And you got to be careful about the direction of the emotion, because you could really, you could accidentally destroy somebody that didn't deserve it, right? Easily with battle rage, just because they were in the path. You know what I'm saying? Okay. In a sudden move, he released the man's sword wrist with one hand and swept the arm down to hook under his legs. The soldier, his arm drawn back for another blow, was too slow to react as Lou heaved upward. He tried to grab at the lad as he went over, but missed. I'm thinking of like Street Fighter, when Ryu goes up, oh, no, God! Like he spins, poof, and there's energy that surrounds him. Eventually, that's what's going to happen to Lou, and he's just going to go boom, right? He made no sound as he fell, perhaps too surprised by the defeat. The exhausted Lou hung on the top rail, watching him plunge toward the atrium floor. It was now flooded with tossing gray waves of uniformed figures. The body dropped down into them, striking with a booming thud audible to Lou. A band of white appeared round where he fell, widening out like ripples round a stone dropped in a pond. Ripples, baby. His faces turning upward to where Lou stood. He jerked back from the rail and ran to Tulta. Ain was already at her side. But on seeing Lou, the older woman pulled erect, pressing one hand tightly over her wound. I'm all right, she said stolidly. Help your friend. Lou looked up the gallery to where Gilas still held the other soldiers at bay. See, Tulta is always tactical. She knows that Lou has to go to that, eliminate that threat. Can be distracted in the heat of battle. They have to be focused. At first glance, they seem to have the poor, awkward clown at a tremendous disadvantage. I might also add, I've been first responder in accidents, just walking down the street. Some bad shit happens, right? First thing you do is you calm the situation. You ask, is it safe? That's the first rule. My EMT instructor taught me. No, just first aid and CPR. I wasn't EMT trained. Nope. Just massage school training required, just in case there was an emergency on the table. Anyway, but Lou, who knew Gila's act better by now, realized that the clumsiness was a means of distracting the attacker. See, he recognized the tactic. Just like SEALs will recognize the tactics of each other, they know what the other one's doing in advance. And just by a nod, they know what's up. See, and this guy has that approach. He has a military approach to the tactics. So, yeah, this is folklore, right? But war would have the same psychology, and that is to have victory, right? Ultimately. Okay. So he recognizes his tactics, right? He looks clumsy to the enemy, but not to Lou, because Lou knows. See, and that's learning, right? So, instead of rushing to his aid, Lou simply called to him, "Gila!" The clown looked to him. "Oh, finished already." He sounded a bit disappointed. "Too bad. I was just having some fun." He looked to his opponents. "Sorry, lads, to be ending this so soon, but it's been good sport. It has that." Why you? One snarled, charging in. He staggered back at once from a lethal thrust through one eye and fell. See, that's symbolic right there, as Lou will throw the stone through his eye, right? It explodes through the back of Balor's head eventually. The other man hesitated, amazed by the ease with which Gila had struck. Then he gulped as the clown looked at him, smiling amiably. "Your turn, I think." Drink. Gila said with enormous glee. "Your turn, I think. Ha 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 ha." The man turned and ran. Wise choice. Gila shrugged and let him go, striding quickly to the others. Lou turned his attention back to his foster mother. Okay. "Talta, are you certain you're not badly hurt?" he asked anxiously, throwing an arm round her. "It's just a cut along the ribs." Pardon me. "It's just a cut along the ribs," she assured him. Remember, but she'll downplay shit, so even if it was a bad wound, she wouldn't want him to know. It'd freak him out. Her voice was strong and even. One hand was kept pressed tightly to the wound, but she was in control and evidenced no pain. She looked closely at him and smiled with great warmth, lifting her other hand to stroke his cheek. "My Lou, I never thought I'd be seeing you again." Concern clouded her features. "But what are you doing here?" She looked over the other two with open curiosity, dwelling long on the strange-looking clown. "And who are you and your companions, huh? Who are your companions?" "There's no time to explain," he told her. "We have to go. There are hundreds of warriors below. There must be parties on the way up here now." "Then our way out of here is blocked," Gila said. "No, maybe not," said Talta. "This is way down from Balor's quarters." "Balor? Balor?" repeated Lou. "The commander. He's a monster so vast that a special lifting device carries him from his ship to his throne room. It's back there." She pointed along the gallery. "It's Boss Hog." "We know well enough," said Gila. "We just came from there." "Have ya?" She was clearly amazed. "You have been courageous or foolish. Have you seen him?" "We have," said Lou. "Well, I don't know how you survived it, but you'll have to again. For we'll have to go right past him to reach the lift." "He was asleep," said Ain. "At least he seemed to be. Then maybe there's a chance. We've certainly no others left," said Lou. Let's be at it." Started back along the gallery at a trot. Talta held her own with no trouble, refusing Lou's offer to support. No other soldiers appeared to challenge them. "Why aren't there more warriors on this level?" Lou asked his foster mother. "It's all Balor's quarters. No one comes up except on his command. Most of the time he's alone." "What is he?" "I don't know. I'm not sure if his own people do. But the power from his eyes like no other. It's what blasted our fortress. I thought no one had survived. Well, are others of our people here? I was thinking of something. If you, say, could figure out how to form glass and reflect sunlight and direct it, you could appear to have that type of power. Just saying. From a distance, like a laser, right? They're all dead, she said grimly. He killed the other survivors trying to make me tell him where you'd gone. She gave a short, humorless laugh. There's irony for you. Now you come walking in his door. But Tolta, why? Why does he want me? Lou asked her urgently. Because he can kill him. That's why. She looked at him gravely. Her voice was firm. Lou, that is something you cannot ask me. Please promise you will not, if you love me. If you wish it, he agreed reluctantly, adding, at least not until we're safe. You reached the corridor that led to Balor's throne room and ran up it to the central doors. Lou put his ear to them and listened. So 2 doors. There was only silence beyond. There's a short hallway leading from the outer corner of the room on the left. Tolta explained softly. To reach it, you'll be crossing the room right before his throne. Dun 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 dun. See, the door to the lift should be open. But if we can make it there, I think I can operate it. I watched them when I was brought up in it. I'll take us right down to their wharves. Perfect, said Lou. Drink. Loosen your neck up after sitting for a while. Okay. But if any of us doesn't make it, the rest of us must go on. There's no stopping once we've begun, right? All agreed. They understood the hard logic in his words. If we're separated, we can meet at the boat. He went on. Don't wait long, though. If there's any danger, get out to the sea. See a meetup. He looked at his foster mother. Tolta, you go first. You're most important now. He eased one side of the huge door open away and peered through the crack. The throne room was empty, save for the giant figure. Sat motionless as before, the eye closed. Lou pushed the door wider and whispered to Tolta. I have to note something, and this tripped me out. Yesterday I saw a young woman with bright red hair. And I mean bright red. See, I'm a blonde, so I'm one step thicker in skin scale to a redhead. Redheads have the thinnest skin. But I was like, wow, because it was big. And it was like someone walked out of a fantasy, like a folklore novel, or I don't know, but I like right out of history. I'm like, that's what our people look like. I'm like, holy shit. Wow. Just the glowing, because you would glow. All your natural features would be a bigger deal. Right? You know what I'm saying? But whoa. And then I thought, okay, imagine somebody like that glowing. Blonde hair, whatever, red hair. That's what our people are known for. At least mine are. Because I have redheads in my family. So I have the potential gene to have red hair, right? I could have been. That'd be weird. I'd look like Sean White or something. The male version. Whatever. Okay. Go ahead then, as quickly and silently as you can. Don't pause for anything. She nodded. Then she smiled and kissed him lightly on the cheek. Good fortune to ya, she said, and slid through the opening. And see, that also means she trained him well, right? She wasn't insecure because she knew. She made certain. Anxiously, he watched her cross the floor. She went swiftly, fearlessly, gliding without a sound to the far corner, disappearing into the entrance of the hallway. The black figure made no move, gave no sound to show it had been disturbed. Good. She's made it, Lou said with relief. Now you, Ain. This time she didn't challenge his order. She moved to the door, then paused before slipping through the lean back and give him a kiss herself. My wish of good fortune matches hers, she said lightly. And then she had gone. Like Talta, she flew silently across the floor without incident. The being called Balor slumbered on. Your turn, Gila, Lou said. See, Lou's thinking about going back. That's what I think. I don't know. Never read this, remember. He grinned at the lanky man. I've decided your clumsiness is only an act. I hope I'm right. I'll try not to fall, the clown promised. He leaned toward the lad. Lou's getting tricky, you see. Want my kiss for luck as well, he asked, puckering his lips. Get on with ya, said the embarrassed Lou, shoving him toward the door. True to his promise, the clown made his silent way across the room, past the figure, who might have been a statue cast from iron. Now it was Lou's turn. He slipped through the opening, closing the door behind him. He began to move stealthily across the room. He glanced up at the black giant as he went. No life there. Was crossing right before it when the voice spoke. Oh, he made a mistake. The sound of it clanging hollowly like a metal drum. The voice of Balor called to him, Lou! And that is the end of that chapter. Next chapter is The Storm. All right, take a drink. I like these are short enough to do, like one read. He designed them that way. Mr. Flint. Errol Flynn. I don't know. Okay, let's see. Lou froze, rooted by a fear that pounded madly in his chest. Dried his mouth, stopped his mind, forced himself to look up toward the figure. The eye was still closed. It hadn't moved, but the voice clanged from it again. Is it you, isn't it? It is you, isn't it, Lou? Saw the others pass. I let them go. I knew none could be you. I waited for you. Lou stood staring at the monstrous form. He battled inwardly to control the fear, more intense than any he had ever known, which threatened to block his reasoning. You cannot escape this tower, Balor said flatly. Very, very slowly, the head began to tilt toward him. Surrender to me now, and no harm will come to any of you, I promise that. You promise, Lou answered scornfully. Your warriors destroyed my home, my only family. He took a step back. He's getting pissed. Away from the figure toward the corridor. Don't try to run, the voice commanded. Stay where you are. Don't make me destroy you. You are too important to me. Important? Me? Said Lou, startled by this. How? What do you know about me? The head stopped moving, the closed eye now directed toward Lou. The iron voice boomed heavily, like a slowly tolling bell. I know you can decide the fate of all of us. This was a further shock to Lou. Did this being know about his mission? He had to escape. He took another step backward. Stand still, the voice threatened. I warn you. If you move, I will have no choice. The massive lid was still fully down. Lou was certain the thing couldn't see him. It had to be guessing where he was by the sound. Ha ha ha. As silently as possible, the young warrior took another step back. The lid of the great eye began to lift. Lou threw himself sideways as the line of the crimson light burst from below the lid. It struck the spot where he had stood, blasting it with a flare of searing heat. Lou scrambled up as the beam began to move, swinging toward him with increasing speed. Crackling across the floor in a blazing line of light, the lad ran from the hallway's entrance, the energy behind him so close he felt the heat of it against his back. He felt it touch a heel, a licking of raking fire, and dove forward, rolling into the shelter of the hallway as the beam struck the wall outside. Corner of the entrance was blown away by the explosion. The room shook with the force. Lou rose unhurt and went on along the hallway. Behind him, the doors to the throne room burst open as scores of soldiers poured in, breasts at their head. Balor's eye closed and the head swiveled to them. The boy is here, the High King asked, glancing around. He went up the lift hallway, the commander roared. Get after him, don't let him escape. Bress obeyed, leading the soldiers at a run for the hallway. Lou meanwhile had reached the far end of the lift. Its silver door was closed. It was already gone. He hadn't time to feel any regret at being left behind. The thunder of the warrior's footsteps was approaching quickly. There was only one other possible way out, a smaller door next to the lift. He tried the handle. It was locked. He was trapped. He turned to face the solid wall of advancing soldiers now slowing to close with him, weapons ready. But a hand grabbed his shoulder from behind. The small door had opened, and he was hauled through to have it slammed after him. He found himself in semi-darkness, facing a figure whose wide grin still shone clearly. It was Gila. Stare away, he said simply. Come on. That's like SEAL team leader. Let's get the hell out of here. That's right. He led the way up the narrow flight at a run. Convince the ladies to go on, he explained in abbreviated form as they climbed. Seemed they should get out. Stayed behind myself. They thought you'd want some company. Well, let's see, we'll keep their interest while the others escape. The door below crashed open. Oh, here they come now. Here they come now, he announced as if guests had arrived for a feast. Hurry, lad! Lou didn't need the urging. He sprang up the stairs, 3 at a time, still barely managing to keep up with the long-legged clown. I've done that. At the top, another closed door blocked their way. The two threw themselves against it without slowing. It gave way, and they stumbled forward into bright light. There was only sky above and on all sides. The roof, Gila exclaimed. Clever guess, Lou said. Now where? They ran to a corner and looked over. Lou immediately turned away, his head reeling. It was a sheer drop of smooth, shining glass all the way to the ocean, very far below. The soldiers streamed from the doorway behind them. They spread out into a line, blocking the two into the corner of the roof. Gila took a deep breath of the sharp sea air. It's a fine view, he said appreciatively. He turned to the line of soldiers, asking, don't you think it's a very fine view? Bress moved forward from the rest, and it was clear from his grim look that he wasn't interested in the view. I don't know who you are, fool. You made a fatal mistake joining this boy. He looked at Lou. And you made yours following me here. He gestured sharply to the soldiers. Take them. Several began to close in. Gila drew his own weapon and pushed Lou behind him into the corner of the roof, where they forced to come at him from the front, and bunched together tightly. Gila kept them at bay with his lightning reflexes. His blade nipped the hand from the one, punctured another's stomach, left a third spurting blood from a severed neck artery. Description. Less anxious to press forward, the soldiers became tangled awkwardly. Their attacks grew ineffective, and Gila wounded 2 more before they pulled back, facing him reluctant to try again. Incompetence, Bress shouted, pushing through them to face Gila himself. All of you can't defeat one gawky clown. I'll do it. Get back. The soldiers withdrew, most with expressions of relief, without preliminaries. Bress drove in with a clever feint and a hard cut that had taken off many a veteran's sword arm. Wow. But Gila parried with speed and ease and a power that staggered Bress back. The soldiers surged forward, but Bress lifted his hand for them to stay. No help. Smiled at Gila with savage delight. This will be more enjoyable than I thought. He came in again, more warily, and they exchanged a flurry of hard blows. Crouched behind Gila in the corner of the roof, Lou tensed with anger and frustration at his own helplessness. He should have a sword. He should be facing Bress, not the amiable clown. Bress kept on with his attack, avoiding Gila's skillful cuts and thrusts, countering with swordplay. They kept the clown busy. You're very good, Gila told him with opening admiration, also throwing over his shoulder to Lou. He's very good. But it was a stalemate, and Bress was too crafty a warrior to waste more time and energy or risk himself. He broke off the fight and stepped back. All right, fool, he said. You are good too, but you can't protect the boy forever. Lou squirmed with indignation at that. He's trying to draw Lou out. It only means you'll die here. See if he can set him off balance and he can kill Gila, right? Because Gila will protect Lou and he knows that. I agree with him. That I do, Gila said to Lou, except for the fool part. Ah, see, good protection. Psychological warfare from Bress. This is only delaying things a bit. To Bress, he called. Could we talk it over? Quickly, said Bress. My patience is wearing thin. Gila turned to Lou, watching the soldiers from the corner of his eye. What else can we do but surrender? Lou asked in desperation. Well, you know, when you've reached the top, there are very few places to go except down. Gila murmured. Lou caught his implication. He glanced toward the edge. This was enough to make him giddy. No, he protested. We'd be killed. Maybe not if we hit the water. What are you discussing? Bress demanded suspiciously. You've only one choice left. Lou's mind was spinning. Of all the dangers they might have to face, why this? Gila, I can't do it, he said despairingly. I'm too afraid. Is this the Matrix moment, right? When they has to jump, right? And he doesn't make it, so he hits the street and then bounces back up, whatever. Kind of is, huh? Or fear is the mind killer. Same thing, more accurate to the era. Dune was an 80s movie, right? Okay. You won't have any choice, Gila told him cheerfully. And with any airy farewell waved to Bress, the clown dove suddenly sideways against Lou, carrying them both over the side. Oh, here we go. Let me get a drink. Should be good. Lou's fall was a mad jumble of images, real impressions mixed with more of his nightmares. The fall of his dreams was repeated here, the spinning view of the sky and sea, the tower of glass seeming to shoot upward, the awful sensation of helplessness. This all symbology, right? Then came the plunge into the sea, the walloping impact with something that felt solid but it immediately gave way to swallowing him, filling his gasping mouth and nose with its harshness, paralyzing him with its sudden chill, dragging him down below the reach of the sun. The undertow, right? In the vacuum from diving from that high. Yeah. You'd have to be a very, very strong swimmer just to survive. But he broke the water so they could go in, right? The clown. He thrashed out wildly, and something gripped him. The rest of the dream played itself out again as hands pulled him up from the frozen darkness toward the wavering light. He broke surface, blowing a great spray of seawater from his mouth, sucking in the air with a great rasping sigh. Gila bobbed beside him, grinning out through a thick mat of hair the water had plastered across his face. This time the rescuing hands had been his. We're alive, Lou cried out in delight. For the moment, Gila said. Can you swim? Lou nodded. Then get at it. The place where he hid the boat is this way. He led Lou in a swim back in toward shore. It landed in the water very close to the rocks, and it was only moments before they were clambering up from the water and beginning a scramble across the ragged stone. Lou kept glancing up at the tower, looming right above them, but it was frozen and lifeless, appearing as before. There were no signs of pursuit. In their hurry, all but tumbled down into the little cove where their boat lay. Lou saw with elation that Ain and Talta had already reached it. The older woman, however, was lying back in the bow while Ain struggled to free the mooring ropes. She looked up at them. Looked up at them. Her own expression lighting up with relief as she recognized who they were. "Thank the powers!" she cried, and then noticed their condition. "But what happened? You're all wet." "Warm day," Gila replied lightly. "Went for a swim. Now hurry. Let's cast off." The two men leaped into the boat. Gila drew his dagger and slashed the ropes while Ain and Lou pushed off with the long oars. A weakness came on Talta. Ain explained, "I thought we'd surely be caught here. Did you have any trouble getting away?" Lou asked. "Only a little," she said, gesturing toward the shore. Lou looked back. A party of soldiers was rapidly making its way across the rocks to them. They redoubled their effort, heaving the small boat out from the shore, just as the first soldiers reached it. One leaped forward to catch the stern, but a sideways swipe of Anne's oar caught him and slammed him down into the water. "Row! Row!" Gila ordered, and the two young people fell to work, sending the light craft bounding out over the incoming waves. The soldiers hesitated on the shore only a moment, then turned back, disappearing quickly over the rocks. Once safely out into the water, Lou paused in his rowing to look back toward Talta. She lay limply in the bow, her face a large red red-brown patch of blood marking her side. She was more badly hurt than she told us. Yeah, of course, what did I say? Said Ain. She must have a strength that matches her courage. "Leave her for now," Gila said sharply, climbing to take the tiller. "We've got to get out to where the sail will catch us. Row, lad." "But I've got to help her," Lou protested. "The best way to do that is to get us away from here. Row, row. This isn't over yet." Reluctantly, Lou stayed to his oar, matching the rhythm of the tireless Ain. Their combined efforts set the boat flying across the sea. They rounded the island, headed back toward Ayr. The vast wharves of the tower came into their view. "Look there! Look there!" Ain cried in alarm. Lou had already seen and had realized what Gila's warning had meant. One of the strange black ships was putting out to sea. "Can they catch us in that great whale of a ship?" Lou asked. "There's more of that tower magic in them," Gila said somberly. "We're in a race for our lives now." They began rowing with the strength reserved for those who see their own deaths pursuing them. The black ship, without having raised a single sail, glided smoothly away from the wharves and straight out through the waves into the open sea. The small boat had gained some distance from the shore, but the pursuing ship was closing that gap with incredible speed, coming on with a grim relentlessness. Once beyond the shelter of the island, the wind caught the little boat. Ain and Lou hauled up the sail and it snapped full, drawing them ahead of their pursuers in a rush. The relief was only momentary, however, for the black ship raised a sail to an immense billowing spread, decorated with an iridescent pattern that glowed in the sunlight like the wings of a soaring seabird. It filled quickly, and the sleek ship was slashing ahead through the waves, closing the gap again. "They'll catch us soon," said Lou. He could see the soldiers aboard the vessel now. They were moving forward to line both sides of the bow. He caught the glint of sunlight on their drawn weapons, but for Gila, all sense of urgency seemed to have faded away. Now he leaned casually over the tiller and yawned widely. "Oh, I don't think they'll catch us," he said easily. We're on the open sea now." Lou looked toward the clown in disbelief. "Are you mad? Take a look, man. They'll be on top of us in a moment." Gila eased back to make himself more comfortable. He fished in one of his bottomless pockets and pulled out a clam. "Here's one left," he said, examining it critically. "Food poisoning." No, I'm just kidding. It had been in there too long. "I wonder if it's still good." Lou could see the hard glitter in the eyes of the soldiers. You could see them making preparations to cast the grapples. "Gila, you are mad," he shouted at the unconcerned clown. "How can you just sit there? Simple enough. We'll be helped soon enough by the storm there." Lou scanned the sky around them, then looked back in irritation at his friend. "Don't play now, Gila. The sky's all blue. What storm?" "Why, that one, lad." See, Mananan's helping them, remember? Mananan could call storms from the sea. Makes sense. I think he could. Said Gila, pointing ahead. This time, when Lou turned toward the bow to look, a blackness was towering in the sea ahead. A great cloud, like some giant living, growing thing from the sea, was swelling, billowing up, cutting off the sun with its denseness. And it was sweeping toward them rapidly, somehow rushing forward against an opposing wind, throwing out bloated gray-black arms on either side to encircle them, to swallow the tiny specks of the two vessels with a maw as black as the moonless night. Lou stared up at the thing looming over them, this mouth open, stricken by the enormity of what was descending upon them. "Gila, it won't help us. It will destroy us," he managed to gasp out. But Gila was absorbed in prying open his clam and seemed not to hear. Lou moved to Talta, lying down to shelter her from the storm's onslaught. Drink. "Get down, Ain," he called to the girl. She seemed not to hear him. She only stared out up at the clouds. The scent of the storm came first, followed by the first puff of the wind. Damp with the rain it carried, Lou crouched protectively over Talta, bracing himself, prepared to be carried under by the capsizing boat or swept away by the blast. The seas crashed around the boat. Wind shattered. Hold on, page. Wind shattered on the rising points of the sea. Lou felt the first drops of rain splatter against his exposed neck. Then, nothing else. He held this position for a few moments more, waiting. Still nothing. Finally, curious as to why he wasn't dead yet, he lifted his head to look. He lifted his head to look. He saw the solid blackness surrounding them. The clouds towered above and around the boat like walls, shutting up the sky. Lou swung his head around. The storm was close on every side. The sound of it was terrific, with powerful gale force winds howling and rolling and roiling the clouds. But he felt nothing. I was thinking, if you knew storms that well, you could pull that off on the sea, but you would have to know how to perspective angle like an artist. It might look like your ship was destroyed, right? But it wasn't, because you knew the storm that well. Ha. He's like riding the pipeline inside the wave, but more hardcore. His gaze came around to Ain, placidly watching, and to Gila, still lounging at the tiller, smiling and humming a bit of a tune. Beyond him, Lou saw the ship of their pursuers, and there his attention fixed. Their enemies were not so fortunate. In the sea, barely a spear's throw from the stern of the little boat, the sleek, miraculous ship was floundering. Caught by the full violence of the storm, those aboard it were fighting desperately to keep the craft afloat. But the vessel, which had seemed so vast to Lou, was like a leaf on a rushing stream. Borne before the storm's fury, hammered by rain, thrashed by the wind and the curling whips of the wave, Lou watched intently, fascinated by the force at work, captivated by the horror of it. His own craft sat in a cradle of serenity, gently rocked by the monstrous clouds. Wind as if it were a babe in a mother's arms. He and his friends were safe, while within their sight men battled vainly for their lives. That they had meant to kill him somehow did not lessen his pity for them in their plight. For they had no chance, and no will of their own could change the manner of their deaths. At least it was over quickly. The battered craft was toppled, crushed, flung away. The soldiers fell upon the spikes of the angry sea and were gone in moments. The black clouds covered and hid the wreckage, and Lou's last sight of his pursuers was of the faces of the remaining men, mouths gaping in fear and filling with the cold salt sea. A breeze picked up his little boat and thrust it gently forward. Menanan, the storm fell back ahead of them, rolling away to the sides, almost as if giving passage to them. Blue skies showed ahead, and in moments they sailed out from under the dark canopy into a warm sun. Drink. Relieved. Lou lifted his face to the light, then back to the storm. Already it had nearly disappeared, the clouds shrinking, falling back into the sea, which had spawned them. That storm, said Lou incredulously. It's as if it saved us deliberately. It did that, Gila agreed. But then, many strange things can happen on the sea. He winked broadly at Ain. He's thinking of my brother, said Ain. It must have been Mananan. He can be very ruthless and cruel. A monster, I said, Gila put in, then grinned at Lou. So be happy he's on our side, lad. Be happy. The young man in Ain looked to Talta's wounds, while Gila held to the course back to toward. While Gila held the course back toward Ire. The tower of glass seemed to slide back down into the water. Lou's last sight of it was of a single icy glint on the crest of a wave. Bress and Strang stood before Balor's throne, the being's red gaze resting on them fixedly. They have escaped, Commander, Strang reported unhappily. Then send more ships, came the hard reply. He must be caught. It is as I feared. For him to so boldly come here and escape, he must be charmed. He must be. Every Fomor garrison in Ire must be alerted to seek him. And you, Bress, understand that this boy's visit here puts you in the gravest danger. It is your overthrow that will be joined with ours if this one called Lou isn't caught. The great head turned slowly toward the window. Boom. The red gaze coming to rest on the distant haze where Ire lay. More is at stake in this than control of the Isle. It is all our lives now. All our lives! And that is the end of Book 2, The Mission. And the next will be the beginning of Book 3, called The Silver Hand. And so each book consists of chapters. So we're on 3. Okay. And next chapter, The Haunted Mountains. Okay. And as is tradition, read the first paragraph. The Haunted Mountains. The sun broke over the ridge of the mountains, rimming it with light. It lifted higher to flood across the wide meadowlands that stretched to the night's edge, falling away toward the west. The west would be that way, in front of me. Okay, so break, music, baby. Yeah. Love or fear, or love and truth. If I have love and truth, I will always prevail over fear. Yep. But I have to have the courage. I have to stretch now. Oh, yeah. I feel like, the cat, after they've been sitting there a while, they get up and they do their little stretch. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like a freak, I'm just like, what am I doing? Does anyone even care? They're like, what is this toothless freak doing? No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go to the same person that made the silver arm and ask him if they'll make me some silver teeth. Maybe I'll make them myself. Antibacterial. So these are medium gauge. They almost feel like bass strings. courage under fire. You know the heart of it all is love. That's what the clown knows. Laughing on one side, crying on the other side of my face. Maybe they said I'm laughing on the other side, in the upside down world. Figured I'd do something original. Yeah, till I get a copycat on the way. Yeah, but you know, working together is a little different than that, you know. Ooh. Gonna make it together. Folk free. Stay true if you know. Stay true. This gap is so big on my finger. Sometimes I lose intonation on this string. On classical, it's fine because it's the string's more burly, so I have to be careful. She told me, said, well, bring a healing hand, you know. Trouble on the wind, slow. We are the eye of the storm. I was strong. Ooh, baby. This is a thin pick, so very flexible, right? Emerald green. Okay. See how I am? Yep. Snapped it. Just like that. Ooh. Dedicate this. Oh, the person who recognizes this will know. What's that? Oh, I don't know. Okay. Oh, yes. I can hear you laughing. Just so you know. Okay, here we go. We ride on down the rainbow bridge. We ride on down. Spring got us on the way. Okay. Wow. Oh. Unicorn. Where the Smurfs in the wood just wanted to chill and have a good time and live in a mushroom house. But Gargamel had to come and spoil it all, baby. Come on. I don't give a shit. Screw it. He's a man. Maybe I got a little bit of clown. Maybe I'm just a clown. And I'm crying in the backside. As easy as I am. Didn't want you to know how bad it really was. That's what she said. Well, if you're my friend, you better level with me. If you're my family, if you're my family, circle on low. One more time in the fire. One more time. I was just hoping help me come my way. Robin, I am way down in the woodland deep, high on the mountain, looking over the sea, oh, looking over the sea, oh. sometimes I get tired and I'll look back and I'll be like, I'm tuning too much on air. Like, that's why it's a refining process. Even screwing up while reading, get better at reading, right? At first I might stumble, and maybe I will fall. Stumble, I will fall. Deep dive down. Deep dive in. I'll just be passing on the road. Ain't no pile of hope. I'll just be croaking in the swamp. I'll be living. You carry the light of my people. This is what you told me. As I overheard, she looked at me and glanced round for me to hear what she said. See them ladies over there? I said, yeah. They got a fake job and a Botox eyebrow. They got injected lips, you know. And even that background side ain't real. But she said, she looked at me, she said, I'm real 100% all the way. She said she was a folk source. I said, no, you're a folk soul, you know. I can see her. You know, nuance in the clouds. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the pouring rain. radio said, step on through, portal on the other side. Way down below. Nice. Well, yeah. Yeah. You can see the artwork right there. So. How more Americana can I get? I don't know. Well, old school 1800s, I guess. You know. Wasn't you? I would have been gone long ago. So this is what I say. Easy. One day, maybe I'll be a gateway, and the queen of better pay, queen of better pay. Oh, drink, try now. It's a nice day, very nice. Oh yes. She said, once upon a time, once upon a place, circle round high above, see it all. She was free from the tower of glass and stone. Brother Got your back, baby, come on through, say hey. Thank you. I shall return after a break. Circle round. Hold the flame. That's what they say. Way down the line, staring out at the sea. Send it my way. Send it my way, my way, my way. My way, my way, my way. Send it my way. Me down by the seaside. Take me down by the seaside. Under jaw. Shanty of the sea. I can't see it from the coast. I can't see it from the coast. Where you going, go? I can't. Something long time ago that my captain of the sea was a radio. Oh, God is on the way. Circle round. On the wind, I feel you.